A man was driving his motor caravan when he noticed the flash of a traffic camera. Thinking he might have been caught for speeding, even though he was sure he wasn't, he decided to double-check. He drove around the block and passed the same spot again, this time going even slower. But the camera flashed once more. Finding the situation amusing, he passed by a third time, even slower. And again, the camera flashed. He repeated this a fourth time with the same result. By the fifth time, he was laughing as the camera flashed yet again, this time as he crawled by at a snail's pace. 2 weeks later, he received 5 tickets in the mail for driving without a seatbelt. A woman was driving with her husband when was pulled over by the police. Woman was in a hurry and told the officer so. "I understand, ma'am," he said, "but I have to ticket anyone over 55. Woman was beside herself. "That's discrimination," she shouted. The officer explained calmly, "Ma'am, I meant the speed limit." A blonde female bought herself a new Mercedes. She could drive the car during the day, but at night the car wouldn't move at all. She tried driving the car at night for a week with no luck. Furious, she called the dealership, told them the problem, and they sent a mechanic to the house. The mechanic gave the car a thorough inspection and could not find anything wrong. Eventually, he asked the blonde, "Are you sure you're using the right gears?" "Of course I am. I'm not stupid. I use D during the day and N at night." A young, cute nun visits the gynecologist for a routine examination. After a few moments of small talk, the doctor asks her to lift her habit for the checkup. As she does, the doctor is left speechless, staring in disbelief. Finally, he manages to ask, "Sister, I have to know, how do you manage to stay so pure?" The nun smiles sweetly and replies, "Oh, Father, it's easy. I've been keeping my vows. And my legs crossed." A very successful businessman had a meeting with his new son-in-law. "I welcome you into the family," said the man. "To show you how much we care for you, I am making you a 50 partner in my business. All you have to do is go to the factory every day and learn the operation." The son-in-law interrupted, "I hate factories. I can't stand the noise." "I see," replied the father-in-law. "Well, then you'll work in the office and take charge of some of the operations." "I hate office work," said the son-in-law. "I can't stand being stuck behind a desk." "Wait a minute," said the father-in-law. "I just made you half owner of a money-making industry, but you don't like factories and won't work in an office. What am I going to do with you?" "Easy," said the son-in-law. "Buy me out." A police officer stops a minivan full of elderly ladies being driven by an old gentleman because they're only going 25 miles per hour, stopping the midday traffic. The policeman asks the driver why he is going so slow. "Well, that's the speed limit, isn't it?" "There was a sign saying 25 and everything." The driver defends himself. The policeman sighs. "No, sir, that's the number of the highway you're on. It has nothing to do with the speed limit." "Oh, so that's what it means," says the driver, looking shocked. The officer looks at the rest of the van and notices the grannies are looking somewhat frozen and stiff. "What's up with the ladies?" he asks the driver. The driver scratches his head. "You see, we just got off Highway 150. An Englishman and an Irishman walk into a bakery. As they browse the shelves, the Englishman eyes the fresh buns on the counter. In a flash, he swipes 3 buns, tucks them into his pockets, and strolls out of the bakery with a sly grin. Once outside, he nudges the Irishman and says, "Now that's skill. Did you see how I managed to steal those buns without the owner even noticing? That's the art of clever thievery." The Irishman shakes his head and chuckles. "Stealing? That's just dishonesty. Let me show you how to get the same result, but with wit and charm instead." Curious, the Englishman follows the Irishman back into the bakery. The Irishman boldly approaches the owner and says, "Good day, sir. I'd like to show you a magic trick that will amaze you." The owner, intrigued and a little flattered, steps forward. "A magic trick, you say? Go on then, show me what you've got." The Irishman smiles and says, "All right, for this trick, I'll need 3 of your finest buns." The owner hands him a bun, which the Irishman promptly eats. He then asks for a second bun, devours that one too, and does the same with a third. After finishing, he stands there, smiling contentedly. The bakery owner frowns, crossing his arms. "All right, where's the magic? All I see is you eating my buns." The Irishman grins, points to the Englishman, and says, "Check his pockets." A woman in her 60s rushed into the emergency room, clearly agitated and in distress. She was seen by a young, inexperienced doctor who, after a brief examination lasting only a few minutes, delivered shocking news: she was pregnant. The woman, overwhelmed by disbelief, bolted out of the examination room and sprinted down the corridor, her screams echoing through the halls. An older, seasoned doctor noticed her frantic state and stopped her. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern etched on his face. After listening to her tumultuous story, he guided her to a quiet room to help her calm down. The older doctor, now fueled with protective instinct, strode down the hallway to confront the new doctor. "What were you thinking?" he demanded, his voice firm. "This woman is 63 years old. She has 2 grown children and several grandchildren. How could you possibly tell her she's pregnant?" Without looking up from his clipboard, the young doctor continued his notes and replied nonchalantly, "Does she still have the hiccups?" One day, a 5-year-old girl went to visit her grandmother. As she played with her dolls, Grandma was busy dusting the furniture. After a while, the little girl looked up and asked, "Grandma, how come you don't have a boyfriend?" Grandma smiled and said, "Sweetheart, my TV is my boyfriend. I can sit in my bedroom and watch it all day long. The TV evangelists keep me company and they make me feel so good. The comedies make me laugh. I'm perfectly happy with my TV as my boyfriend." Later, Grandma turned on the TV, but the picture was fuzzy. She tried adjusting the knob to fix it, but when that didn't work, she tapped the back of the TV in frustration, hoping it would clear up. Just then, the doorbell rang. The little girl ran to answer it, and standing there was Grandma's minister. "Hello, young lady. Is your grandma home?" the minister asked kindly. The little girl nodded and replied, "Yeah, she's in the bedroom trying to fix her boyfriend." The cheerful housewife was having her TV repaired. The TV repairman couldn't help but glance her way every time she entered the room. He kept his focus on the job, but found it hard not to notice her warm and lively demeanor. When he finished the repair, she paid him and said, "I have a bit of an unusual request, but you have to promise to keep it a secret." The repairman nodded eagerly, curious about what she was going to ask. "Well," she began, "it's a little embarrassing to bring up, but my husband, while a wonderful and kind man, has a certain limitation. You see, I've been needing some help with something I just can't manage on my own." The repairman's curiosity piqued further. "Of course. What is it?" She smiled brightly. "Would you help me move the refrigerator?" The repairman laughed, relieved and amused, and together they got the job done. A boss says to his secretary, "We are traveling abroad for the week, so make arrangements." The secretary makes call to her husband. "My boss and I will be traveling abroad for some reasons." The secretary husband makes call to her secret lover. "My wife is traveling for the weekend, so come to my house so that we can be together." The secret lover makes call to the child she's teaching lesson. "I will not be at home this week, so don't come for lesson." The child makes call to his grandpa. "Grandpa, my lesson teacher is not around, so I'll use the weekend with you." Then Grandpa makes call to his secretary. "My grandson is coming to use his weekend with me, so we are not traveling again." The secretary makes call to her husband. My boss said his grandson is coming to use weekend with him, so our trip is cancelled. The husband makes a call to secret lover. We cannot spend the week together. My wife has cancelled her trip. The secret lover makes a call to little boy. We will still have classes as usual this week. The little boy makes a call to his grandfather. Grandpa, I'm sorry we won't be able to spend the week together. My teacher called and said that I have to attend classes. The grandpa makes a call to his secretary. Change of plans. My grandson is no more coming. So we are still traveling this week. Make arrangements. An elderly lady walked into the bar on a cruise ship and ordered a scotch with just 2 drops of water. The bartender handed her the drink, and she mentioned, I'm on this cruise to celebrate my 80th birthday, and today's the day. The bartender smiled and said, well, since it's your birthday, this one's on the house. As the lady finished her drink, the woman next to her offered, I'd love to buy you a drink. Thank you, that's so kind. The lady replied, Bartender, I'll have another scotch with 2 drops of water. Coming right up, said the bartender. After she finished that drink, a gentleman on her other side chimed in, I'd like to buy you a drink as well. Thank you very much, dear, the lady said. Bartender, another scotch with 2 drops of water. As the bartender handed her the drink, he couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. Ma'am, he asked, I've got to know, why the scotch with just 2 drops of water? The elderly woman chuckled and replied, Sonny, when you reach my age, you learn to hold your liquor. But water? Well, that's a different story altogether. A lonely 70-year-old widow decided that it was time to marry again. She put an ad in the local newspaper that read, Husband wanted. I must be in my age group, not beat me, must not run around on me, and must still be good in bed. All applicants please apply in person. The following day, she heard the doorbell. Much to her dismay, she opened the door to see a gray-haired gentleman sitting in a wheelchair. He had no arms or legs. You're not asking me to consider you, are you? The widow asked. Just look at you. You have no legs. The old gent smiled. Therefore, I cannot run around on you. You don't have any arms either, she snorted. Again, the old man smiled. Therefore, I can never beat you. She raised an eyebrow and asked intently, Are you still good in bed? The old man leaned back, beamed a big smile and said, I rang the doorbell, didn't I? An Irish colleen had been away from home for nearly 5 years. When she finally returned, her father, understandably worried, confronted her. Where have you been all this time? Why didn't you call us? Why didn't you write? Can you not understand what you've put your poor old mother and meself through? The girl, tears streaming down her face, replied, I'm sorry, Da, but I became a prostitute. Yeah, what? Her father shouted, his face turning red with anger. Get out of here, you shameless harlot! You're a disgrace to this good Catholic family, a sinner in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, Da, the girl said, still sobbing. I just came back to give Ma this fine mink coat, the title deeds to a 10-bedroom mansion just outside Dublin, plus a €5 million Euro savings certificate. For me, little brother, a solid gold Rolex watch. And for you, Da. She paused, taking a deep breath. A brand new Mercedes limited edition sports car that's parked outside right now. A life membership to the country club, and an invitation for you all to join me for New Year's Eve on my luxury yacht on the French Riviera. Her father's eyes widened as he interrupted her. Now tell me again, what did you say ye became? Still sniffling, the girl repeated, A prostitute, Da. A prostitute. Her father let out a huge sigh of relief and said, Oh, thank the Lord. You scared me half to death. For a moment there, I thought you said a Protestant. Come here and give your old Da a big hug. Marie was in the kitchen, busy with chores, when she called out, Boudreau, you need to go outside and fix the outhouse. Boudreau from the other room replied, Ain't nothing wrong with the outhouse. Marie insisted, Yes, there is. Now get out there and fix it. Reluctantly, Boudreaux shuffled outside to the outhouse. After a quick glance, he shouted back, "Marie, there ain't nothing wrong with this outhouse." Marie, growing impatient, said, "Stick your head in the hole." Boudreaux protested, "I ain't sticking my head in that hole." Marie replied, "You have to stick your head in the hole to see what needs fixing." With a sigh, Boudreaux stuck his head in the hole, looked around and shouted, "Marie, there ain't nothing wrong with this outhouse." Marie then yelled, "Now take your head out of the hole." As Boudreaux pulled his head out, he began to shout, "Marie, help! My beard's stuck in the cracks of the toilet seat." Marie simply called back, "Hurts, don't it? P.S. The outhouse is mine." And before you go, here's the deal. I tell jokes on YouTube, but this is no joke. For every 1,000 subscribers and likes on this video, I will find 50+ homeless people and donate $100 each to them. Hit subscribe and let's spread laughs and kindness. Thank you.